Hello, everyone. I'm Lauren Hubele. I'd like to welcome you to Shamanism, Metaphysics, and Grace. Today, we'll be checking in on what the stars have to say for us with Jyoti Wind, my favorite astrologer.
Thank you, Lauren. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so Jyoti, what's in store for us?
Well, we have the first new moon of the new year. And so this is at on January 11th. It's at roughly 7 a.m. Um, Eastern time. And it's talking about it's a new moon in Capricorn, sun moon with Pluto nearby. And so it's more than just a single new moon or a simple new moon in Capricorn, which would be a new cycle of goal orientation for the year, setting goals, looking out ahead and seeing, where you feel drawn to and what you feel drawn to manifest. But with Pluto there, it gives a little edge. Pluto always gives that little edge of transformation and looking at, in the midst of looking at the new and what's coming and what's beginning, um, also looking at what can be transformed.
Hmm, hmm. That's a lot coming up for someone. And thinking of folks that maybe haven't been able to get any traction yet on their new year, this might be a good opportunity to set some plans in motion.
Absolutely. The new moon, new cycle, absolutely. With a little bit of a strength there, a little bit of an added strength with Pluto, and plus the fact that the sun and moon are exact together at the new moon, and they are trining the planet Uranus. And so there's this by 1 degree, and so there's this sense of opening and wanting freedom and wanting to do things in your own way, your own unique way, and championing not only your own freedoms but the freedoms of other people.
Hmm. So might we see that play out on the world stage?
Hopefully. Hopefully. I mean, yes, of course it would. The macrocosm and the microcosm, my small little life, and then what's going on globally. I mean, it's all uh, subject to the same influence by the
Sure.
new moon. And with that new moon trying the planet Uranus, I think it also opens us to hear what we need to hear, like perhaps intuitively, having a flash of something, or our emotions. All of a sudden, we feel like we want to expand a bit. That you know 2023 was like, if I think of it in a certain way, it was like wearing clothes that were too tight, you know? And and all of a sudden, with this new moon, the first new moon of the new year, trining the planet Uranus, by 1 degree, that's real close, real tight. It's like a loosening. It's like I want the freedom to do things in my own unique way instead of the shoulds or the have tos or anything like that.
It's almost like that discomfort has led us to this point too, in some way, right? Because
Oh,
we're all fed up with it for sure.
yes. Well, and I've been thinking about all of this and how this has come around, and the Saturn Pluto conjunction in January of 2020, when this whole thing started and rolled in, this, in some ways, major awakening in the populace,
Mhm.
and giving people time to look at, I just don't want to live this way anymore, or I
Yeah.
don't want to think this way anymore, or I don't want to do this for the rest of my life in this way. And that was Saturn's and Pluto's job, in a sense, to awaken something much deeper in humanity and say, okay, here's a new door for you to consider stepping through.
Mhm. Mhm. And so, how would this relate to that period?
Well, we're we're being pushed to awaken to something else instead of the way things have always been. When I see a Saturn Pluto conjunction, let's say by transit or something in somebody's chart, I would say to them, you have a greater strength right now to transform something that at other times might feel daunting, but you have this strength to kind of push through and transform something in a way that is absolutely beneficial. May feel a little difficult at the beginning, but has your best interests at heart.
Mhm. Mhm. And so this is an opportunity where we could be working with something.
Yes, yes. I mean, the whole past 4 years. I mean, it's just been pushing little by little. It's like having um, something at your back. You know what I mean? That just keeps inching you forward a little bit more, a little bit more. Let's drop this. Let's embrace that. That kind of
Sure.
energy.
So Jyoti, do you see as we look ahead, and of course I'm curious, that this is going to come to a head some way?
I I think the head is our further awakening and more conscious choices.
Hmm.
I think it's not so much a build up to something and then a falling away. I think it's a continual movement toward something else, toward a different consciousness. Pam Gregory talks about the new human,
Hmm.
and the new earth. And I've listened to a couple different people recently, and I agree with their um, conclusions, of where we're at and why we're on this roll, that it's time for us to awaken our consciousness to who we really are and why we're here and what the next steps need to be put in place for the evolution of humankind.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's no small feat.
Oh,
You know, I
yeah.
mean, moving mass consciousness into a different way of looking at things. I mean, it's a slog, I mean, it's years and years and years. And yet that Saturn Pluto conjunction was like that kickstart, was like that. It was saying, you can't go back. The
Mhm.
door is closed behind you. You can't go back. It's just, and it brought a quickening. And I feel like this spring there will be a couple things that bring us that sense of quickening, that it's not just a little bit by a little bit, but it's speeding up. And
Mhm.
I think, and the other thing I wanted to just allude to is Pluto moving into Aquarius later this month on January 20th at 5:50 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And it'll be there for several months, and then it'll retrograde back out into Capricorn for September to November. And then at the end of November into December, Pluto will re-enter Aquarius for 20 years. So we're getting another taste this spring from January to, I think, for several months. And this is part of that quickening. It's saying there are new electricities, there are new vibrational frequencies coming in that are opening doors for human consciousness
Mhm.
to step into a new way of being, if you can, if you desire it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, Jyoti, what I'm seeing, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Obviously, this is affecting different people differently, and for some people, this is really alarming and really juggling their nervous systems and kind of throwing them into a tailspin.
Yes, yes, it is. It is. And that's why any kind of anything from therapy to different types of therapies, that meditation forms, and anything that helps calm the nervous system and calm um, people's sense of, coming into a place where they can breathe deeply and they can relax is
Yeah.
so important, because the energy is speeding up, and it's going to affect people differently, and some people will be able to flow with it easier, and some people will struggle,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's the truth of it.
And I think the more we can do, so, what a great opportunity to start that yoga practice you've never finished starting, or a meditation practice, or uh,
Yes,
a breathing technique.
absolutely. Yes. Yes, being with your breath. I mean, breath and mind work together. If the mind is busy, the breathing's more rampant or frequent. If you calm the breath, the mind slows down. I mean, they're directly linked together. So a simple breathing technique, a simple meditation technique, a walking meditation. You know, just being in tune with your body and knowing what it needs, because it needs calming, but it needs exercise, it needs strengthening, and anything that allows you to step into your own sense of strength and purpose, and being open to what no longer works for you, so you're not carrying a bunch of excess baggage around. It's like you lighten your suitcase. If your suitcase is really heavy, you struggle. You're breathing hard. Your mind is worrying. How am I going to do this? If you begin to lighten the load, you wind up feeling lighter in yourself. I mean, we're coming into more light. Our cells are being given an opportunity to absorb more light.
Mhm. Jyoti, as you share this, I want to come right back to the new moon. I mean, here's our opportunity, a new cycle for goal orientation, and Pluto asking us to transform something. So our system's going to need this. What a great gift from the universe to support that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we can see it as a chore, or we can see it as a gift. That's at the very minimum of free will we have. How do we see what's happening to us or around us or opening up for us? Our free will is, do we embrace it? Do we see the benefit, or the possible benefit of what's being presented to us? Or do we see it as more work, kind of a chore, or heaviness? Or we can just hold it as, okay, here's another opportunity and another opportunity for me to grow beyond where I've been, and to be open to who I really am,
Mhm.
beyond all the things we think about ourselves.
You shared some really beautiful words that I can only imagine what that would feel like to listen to if I'm in this state right now, in a bit of a quandary of what I need to do next. And you've given some very practical ideas there, Jyoti. Thank you.
Well, and also, with the new moon and it being a new cycle, and it trining the planet Uranus, and Mars is trining Jupiter, and Venus is trining Chiron. There's opportunities here, and so it's like asking the universe, whatever you ask, even if you're asking into yourself and your spirit guides and those beings who are here to help you in your life, asking for help, asking for guidance, and asking for, what the next phase of your life is asking of you. And how do you see it? How do you embrace it? How can you work with it?
Mhm. Beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
I think that openness, Lauren, changes it, because you don't feel like you're at the mercy of something. You feel like, okay, here's a golden opportunity for me to embrace and the new ideas, new concepts, whatever, and to let go of things that, we're all still carrying around from where we've been.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we are the front lines of the ancestors, let's say, and so we are the ones that the ancestors dreamt about and hoped for the things that they couldn't quite heal in the body, in the life that they lived. And so they dreamt of us, and here we are on the cutting edge of a new wave of consciousness, a new wave or heightening of the light that's on the planet. And here we are with this opportunity. And I think it kind of behooves us to say, okay, let's go.
I agree, Jyoti. I agree. Just surrender.
Yes, because I mean the alternative is you're fighting something, and that's going to feel heavy, and it's going to feel like this is not a win-win situation. It's just going to take longer.
Yeah, and I think that's a perfect example for folks to hold. If it feels like you're fighting something, something's off, and it's time to let go.
Yes, and it's time to direct your consciousness there to look at, well, why am I fighting this, or why am I holding on? Is it out of fear? I really feel like right now, with Saturn and Pisces over this year, this next year or two, we're looking at some deep fears, almost like cosmic fears. I feel like we're looking at our relationship to the larger universe, and um, we're such a tiny part of what's going on, and yet we have the capacity to influence everything around us.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I think that Saturn is kind of poking at us and pushing at us a little bit to face fears and move beyond them, or to see why we react that way, and then how to reconsider the option.
Beautiful. Some lovely advice, Jyoti. Thank you. Anything else folks should know?
No, I think that's it. I'm very curious about this next Pluto's entrance into Aquarius on January 20th, and just seeing how that influences all that's happening or coming in the spring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks, Jyoti.
Thank you, Lauren.